It seems like just a few weeks ago, DeepSeek was all over the news, right? Shaking things up in the AI world. Do you remember all that buzz back in January? Like, a real disruption was happening.
It's definitely a fascinating moment. DeepSeek, just a startup at that point, suddenly in the spotlight, showing everyone that you don't need to be a giant like Google or OpenAI to make a splash in AI.
Yeah, and now the spotlight's moved on, hasn't it?
Yeah.
It's on Elon Musk and his Grok 3 now. Feels like we're about to see another earthquake in the AI world. So today we're going to dive deep into these two players, see what their strengths are, how they're approaching this whole thing, and maybe get a glimpse of where AI is headed. What do you think?
Sounds good to me. Before we get too caught up in the Grok whirlwind, though, maybe it's worth taking a quick look back at what made DeepSeek so significant in the first place. I mean, their DeepSeek V3 model, it performed amazingly well, especially when you consider how little it actually cost to develop.
Yeah, it was a classic David and Goliath story, right? They managed to train a super powerful AI model on a budget. I mean, we're talking about a model trained on a little over 2,000 Nvidia H800 GPUs, costing them something like $5.58 million, a fraction of what the big guys usually spend.
Exactly, and that sent shockwaves through the whole industry. I mean, people thought you needed mountains of money to be at the cutting edge of AI, and DeepSeek showed that might not be true. And that could open doors for smaller companies. Maybe make the whole AI landscape a bit more diverse and competitive.
I remember their chatbot app even shot to the top of the U.S. App Store rankings there for a bit, right past ChatGPT. Seems like people were hungry for alternatives. DeepSeek was ready to serve them up.
It shows you the power of mobile accessibility, doesn't it? Even in a space dominated by giants, there's always room for newcomers if they've got something new to offer and understand what users want.
It hasn't all been smooth sailing for them, though, has it? Remember, they ran into some regulatory hurdles in South Korea, something to do with data privacy, I think, which I guess highlights how tricky it is for AI companies to operate on a global scale.
That's a great point. It raises the question of how these international regulations and different cultural attitudes towards data privacy are going to shape AI development. I mean, the ethical and legal frameworks are still being figured out, and DeepSeek's experience is a good reminder of just how complicated it all is.
So true. And while DeepSeek's star might have dimmed a little here in the West, they've been busy making some strategic moves in China, haven't they? Particularly in the financial sector. I read that companies like Tiger Brokers are integrating their AI for things like market analysis and trading.
Smart move. Securing a foothold in a market that's so eager to embrace AI could set them up for some serious long-term growth. There's even talk of major Chinese investment on the horizon.
Possibly, yeah. So it seems like even though they're not grabbing the headlines right now, DeepSeek is still very much a force to be reckoned with. But for the moment, everyone's eyes are on Elon Musk and his Grok 3. The guy clearly wants to be the king of the AI mountain.
Yeah, he's not messing around, is he? He wants to completely reshape the AI world with Grok 3. Taking on not just OpenAI and Google, but Meta, too, he's claiming this model is 10 times more powerful than its predecessor, Grok 2.
10 times. And the way he's going about it has been sparking a lot of debate, that's for sure. He's committed to open source development, which, well, that's a pretty bold move.
It's where things get really interesting. Musk's basically throwing down the gauntlet to OpenAI and Google, who are increasingly moving towards closed systems. He's pushing for a more transparent, collaborative approach.
It's a gamble for sure. Open source could really speed up innovation and make AI accessible to more people, but there are risks too, right? Like security vulnerabilities and the possibility of misuse. It's a tough call.
Yeah, it's the classic dilemma, control versus collaboration. A closed system is definitely more secure and controlled, but open source, that could tap into the brain power of developers all over the world. It's a fascinating challenge.
Absolutely. And Musk's got another ace up his sleeve, doesn't he? X, what used to be Twitter. Integrating Grok 3 with a user base that massive, that's an instant platform that no one else can match. Just imagine, millions of people interacting with Grok 3 every day, training it, refining it.
Yeah, that's a huge advantage. Grok 3 can learn from real-world interactions in a way that closed systems can only dream of. It's like giving it a constant stream of, life experience to learn from. Pretty incredible when you think about it.
It is. But, the success is far from guaranteed. Grok 3 is stepping into a crowded arena, right? With some seriously heavy hitters like GPT-4 and DeepSeek already slugging it out. And they all have their own strengths and weaknesses, of course.
And then there's the whole GPT-5 thing looming on the horizon. Who knows what that'll buy? Plus, you've got the rise of all these specialized AIs, like what Microsoft is doing with gaming. Maybe the future of AI isn't about these general-purpose LLMs after all.
It's a wild ride, that's for sure. A real AI arms race.
Hmm.
And at the end of the day, what matters most is how they perform in the real world. Can Grok 3 deliver on all the hype? Will open source be its secret weapon? Or will it come back to bite them?
That's the big question, isn't it? Can it really outperform what we already have? And the things like coding, reasoning, content creation. I guess we'll have to wait and see. Maybe the next 6 to 12 months will give us some answers.
It's exciting, though, isn't it? It's like watching a whole new species evolve right in front of us. You've got these massive players like OpenAI and Google. They're just pushing the limits further and further. More power, more complexity.
Yeah, and then you have DeepSeek doing things their own way. They showed everyone that you don't need to spend a fortune to be innovative. Resourcefulness can be a powerful weapon, too.
And then there's Musk, always doing things differently, shaking things up with open source, leveraging the power of X. It's a fascinating mix.
It really is. It's like we're seeing the AI family tree branching out in all these new directions.
Okay, but let's zoom out for a sec, all right? Let's talk about the average person, someone who isn't a coder or an AI expert. How's all of this going to affect them, their everyday life?
Well, it's already happening. AI is getting embedded in everything. Our phones, our cars, healthcare, finance. It has the potential to simplify our lives, make things more efficient, give us more information at our fingertips.
Imagine personalized education that adapts to how you learn best, quicker, and more accurate medical diagnoses. Even creative tools that help you express yourself in ways we haven't even thought of yet.
Exactly. And those are just a few examples. But we have to remember AI is a tool. And like any tool, it can be used in a lot of different ways, for good or bad.
One of the things I keep hearing about with Grok 3 is this deep search thing. It's supposed to make the AI's reasoning process more transparent, easier to understand. What do you make of that?
Right. Well, deep search is trying to tackle a problem that's been bugging AI for a while now, the black box problem. With a lot of these complex AI models, it's really hard to figure out how they get their answers, how they make decisions. And that lack of transparency can make people nervous. Is there bias baked in? Who's accountable if something goes wrong? What if there are unintended consequences? Those are big questions.
So deep search is kind of like opening up the hood, letting us see the engine running.
Exactly. And by making the AI's thought process clearer, we can hopefully trust it more, have more effective oversight.
Yeah.
It could be a big step towards making sure AI development happens responsibly.
Transparency is key, especially as AI becomes a bigger part of our lives. But let's shift gears a bit, talk about the raw power behind Grok 3. Musk says it has 10 times the computational power of the previous version. What's that even mean, practically speaking?
Well, basically, it means Grok 3 can process information and learn at an incredible speed, like nothing we've seen before. That kind of power allows for more complex models, faster training, and maybe even some major breakthroughs in how AI understands language and solves problems.
So it's like having a super brain at your disposal.
Kind of, yeah. And this increase in computing power is a major reason why AI is progressing so quickly. Researchers can really push the boundaries now, explore new areas, build even more sophisticated models.
But as these models get more and more powerful, we have to ask, what's the impact going to be?
It's a crucial question. The stakes are higher than ever. We're talking about a technology that could reshape our lives, our societies, even how we understand what it means to be human.
Yeah, it's mind-blowing when you really think about it. It's this incredible potential for good, but then you have to grapple with the ethical questions, too. How do we make sure it's used responsibly?
It's a tightrope walk, absolutely, and that's why conversations like this are so important. We need to go deeper than the hype, really think about the future we're creating with AI.
So for our listeners out there, what are some key takeaways they should keep in mind as they navigate this AI revolution?
First, AI isn't one thing, right? There are so many different approaches, different applications. Some AI is laser focused on specific tasks, and then you have more general AI that can handle a broader range of things.
Right, it's not a one-size-fits-all situation.
Exactly. Second, it's important to be aware of both the benefits and the risks of AI. Stay informed about what's happening. Be part of the conversation about the ethical implications.
It's not about being afraid of AI or blindly accepting it, right?
Yeah.
It's about understanding its power and helping guide it in a direction that benefits everyone.
Couldn't have said it better myself. The choices we're making right now will shape the future of AI.
And speaking of choices, let's talk about Musk's decision to merge Grok 3 with X, the platform formerly known as Twitter.
Yeah.
That's a bold move. What are the potential upsides and downsides there?
Well, the upside is obvious, right? It gives Grok 3 access to this massive, incredibly diverse dataset that's pure gold for training and refinement. Plus, it's a built-in platform for user interaction and feedback.
It's like plugging Grok 3 directly into the heartbeat of the internet.
Exactly. But, and there's always a but, the content on X can be unpredictable, sometimes even harmful. There's a risk that exposing Grok 3 to all of that could lead to bias or even dangerous outputs.
It's like using the entire internet as a textbook for a kid,
Yeah.
right? There's a lot of great stuff in there, but also a lot of stuff that could lead them astray.
That's a good way to put it. It shows that even in an open source environment, you need careful curation and oversight. Musk's team is going to have to be very careful, put in strong safeguards to minimize those risks, make sure the AI development stays on track.
It's a big gamble, no doubt about it.
It is, but that's what makes this whole AI scene so captivating. It's unpredictable, constantly changing. We're in this period of wild experimentation, and nobody really knows where it's going to lead.
It reminds us that the future of AI isn't set in stone. It's something we're all shaping with the choices we make, the conversations we have, how we engage with this powerful technology.
Which brings us to a critical question for our listeners, doesn't it? What role do you see for AI in your life, in society as a whole? What values should guide its development?
Yeah, those are big questions, aren't they? The kind we all need to be thinking about. The choices we make now about AI, those are going to have ripple effects way down the line.
Absolutely. It goes beyond just the technology, doesn't it? It's about shaping the kind of future we want to live in, a future that reflects our values. Do we want AI to be something that helps us, enhances what we can do, or do we want it to replace us altogether? And what about things like equality? Will AI help level the playing field or make those gaps even wider?
Those are tough questions. No easy answers there. But we got to ask them, right? So as we wrap things up today, any final thoughts you'd like to leave our listeners with?
Well, we've seen two very different approaches to building AI, haven't we? DeepSeek, they showed us what you can do with a lean budget and some smart strategy. And then you have Grok 3 pushing this whole open source idea, tapping into the power of a huge platform like X.
Yeah, it's proof that there's no one right way to innovate in AI. There are multiple paths you can take, different ways to reach your goals.
And this field is moving so fast, isn't it? I think we're going to see even more variety in the future. New approaches we haven't even thought of yet.
It's exciting, but kind of scary too, right? The potential's huge, but there are definitely some risks we need to be aware of.
Exactly. I think the key is to approach this new world with, well, with caution, but also with optimism and a desire to use this technology to make things better for everyone.
It's a journey we're all on together. And the more we know, the more we talk about these things, the better prepared we'll be to shape that future. A future where AI is a force for good, helping us build a world that's more just, more sustainable. A world where everyone benefits. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.